The reason why you're probably even clicking on this video is because nobody explained to you what the difference is between online coaching and in-person coaching. I'll tell you, because I've done both, that the shift to online coaching flat out has not only revolutionized my business, it's revolutionized the results I've been able to get my clients. And I'm going to explain why. Now, when I first started, personal training in person was a necessity because that's all you could really do. You had email, right? You had phone, but there was no social media. Well, there was MySpace and Facebook. But there was no real place to put your content. There was no real large dissemination of information, right? There were no apps. There was no trainers. There was nothing like that. Quite simply put, the reason point blank why online coaching is more effective than in-person training is because you got to think the amount of time that that coach is putting to you. Now, it's great to have that attention on you for an hour, but they're just focusing on one aspect. If, in my opinion, progress is 80% nutrition, 20% training, they're putting an hour on that 20%, right? Now, think about it this as well. Let's say you're training for an hour, 2 hours, 5 days a week. Okay. There's 24 hours in a day. That coach is zoned in on just that 20%, right? For 1 to 2 hours per day, for only 5 days a week, and has nothing to do with the rest of the time. I'm telling you that because I used to do that as a personal trainer. I used to hyper focus on the training, and because that's what you're being paid to do, to give a client a great workout, right? But it's a false sense of security because you have the client thinking, oh, I had a great workout and I'm going to go F off the whole weekend. But then I'm going to kind of keep myself in check because my trainer's going to beat me up, right? In the form of a workout, right? When you come back on Monday. But again, those poor decisions that you make outside the gym completely overtake no matter how great of a trainer you can have in the gym. Now, there are some benefits to having an in-person trainer at times, right? When it comes to that motivation piece, or correcting form, or making sure that the intensity is there. But I'm here to tell you, first and foremost, again, not a lot of coaches do this, but I excel probably even more in giving feedback, positive feedback for training, giving form critiques, giving intensity critiques, and keeping people accountable by being removed from the situation. Because what happens is I'm able to take much more information in, right? I'm able to look at much more different angles from a video, let's say, of my client sending me of them training, rather than being in there, counting the reps, right? Being aware of what's going on in the gym, having conversations, right? Again, kind of jumping a little bit forward here. I'm kind of just focusing on the training aspect because that's really going to be the biggest deliverable an in-person trainer gives you. But it is no different than an online coach like me prescribing you a workout, seeing your numbers progress, right? Because I have systems, getting feedback through the videos that you're sending, and seeing the progress in your physique. And even if there was just a little bit of a loss in the effectiveness of my ability to train you online versus in person in the actual weight training aspect, what you gain in the accountability aspect, the communication, the nutrition, the supplementation, all those sort of benefits are going to completely outweigh that. Because all I would have to do as an online coach is make sure you have a program, keep you accountable to it, and make sure you're progressing. At some point, you are going to be an amazing person at executing quality training, always with my guidance, right? But what do you start doing now with that in-person trainer, 6 months down the line? Do you still need that person really there all the time with you? Because by that point, you should have a good idea of how to execute certain exercises, good idea of form, right? Know what exercises to do when. You already know what your split is. So really at that point, you're just having that person there as some sort of motivational factor, which again, has its benefits. But are you not motivated by any other methods? Could you not be motivated in other ways, right? Here's where it comes from the coach's perspective. And this is where you kind of need to think outside the box, okay? This is going to be probably the most beneficial way to look at it. Even though you don't really care what your coach has going on, it does affect the quality that they give you. Think about it like this, because I've done this. If I have 8 clients to train in one day, it's not an 8-hour day. That's more like a 12 to 15-hour day because someone's going to show up late. There might be a gap between clients. They might need to reschedule. I might be teaching a class. I might have to get my own workout, right? So that day becomes long. Those 8 hours I spend the day, those are to 8 clients, right? And I'm seeing them 3, 4, 5 times a week. So, and the attention to that client, we're just having the conversations in the moment. I'm not in there tweaking their meal plan. I'm not looking at their photos, right? I'm literally just seeing them in person and whatever comes to mind. So the amount of attention that you get, yes, it's there right in front of you, but it is not a bird's eye view and also a detailed view. To be able to sit back and spend that hour and look at your program, look at your progress, and make an adjustment from the outside rather than focusing on counting your reps is a monumental benefit. Again, there's only a limited number of hours in the day. If your personal trainer or in-person trainer is spending all the time counting reps, racking weights, teaching form, they're not spending any time on your nutrition supplementation, troubleshooting your thyroid, looking at your blood work, right? Dealing with your protocol and supplementation, your nutrition, writing your new meal plan. They're not doing that. I'm telling you right now, it is not happening. There's no coach on earth, unless they have 1 or 2 clients, right, that is going to effectively be able to do that. In addition, this is probably where the light bulb will go in your head just a little bit quicker. Let's look at the financial aspect. Let's say at the height of my personal training, I was charging $100 to $120 per session, okay? I was one of those who, it wasn't a set time, it was just for the session, right? So, because what if you need more than an hour? What if you need 40 minutes? Whatever it is, let's get the session done. But let's just use $100, okay? If you're gonna pay me $100 a session, and I'm not really gonna not waste my time, but it wouldn't be effective for us if I didn't train you more than 2 to 3 times per week. So let's look at 2 times per week. If I'm training you 2 times per week at $100, you're paying me $800 to $900 a month. I'm not really looking at your nutrition. I'm not really looking at your supplementation. I'm not really looking at your blood work. I'm not really looking at your lifestyle. I'm not really looking at your cardio. I'm not really as effectively as I could online. Versus a fraction of that, 20 to 30% of that, you could pay me for the same thing. Granted, even if you truly believe after everything I'm telling you that it would still be better for your training and motivation to have someone in person, would you rather pay 4 times as much to have that but lose everything else? That's the important part. At the end of the day, if you took nothing from this video, training is not the end all be all. Training just creates a signal, the stimulus to build muscle. The nutrition, the recovery, the lifestyle, the consistency, the accountability, that's what creates results. If you want to pay an exorbitant amount of money for somebody to focus on this and forget about this, I promise you're not going to get the results that you want. If you spend less money and put more effort and time into somebody who can control this will take care of itself because they're still going to be able to do that. So hopefully this really resonated with you, and I was able to explain the difference between the in-person and online coaching. Again, I've done both. I've been there. I've done that. I know. I've even had in-person coaches. I have in-person coaches now for me, working for me, and I have 2 at this time online coaches. I can tell you, I wouldn't trade anything in the world to have my online coach, in person because of the amount of attention he can give me by him not being here and having to focus on what's in front of him. If you like this information, if you would even like to know more about what it would be like to work with me one-on-one directly, if you would like me to show you point blank the difference between in-person and online coaching, I would be happy to do that. Please subscribe to this channel. If you're interested in one-on-one coaching or learning more about what it'd be like to work directly with me, hit the link in the description of my channel. If I sent this information or this video to you via DM or some sort of messenger and it piqued your interest, just shoot me a message back, be like, hey, great information. I'd love to know more about your process for coaching, and I would happily explain it to you.